and welcome back to another video. My name is Jordan and I own WILDRACE, a luxury sustainable candle company based in the UK, and I do kind of business talks on a Wednesday like this one today, where I talk about different things regarding the business or candle making specifically with tips and advice. And then every Sunday we have the weekly vlogs of like a week in the life of a candle maker. So today for the business talk, I'm going to be actually talking about Christmas markets. So this is probably going to be a part one. Actually, it will be relevant for any markets, not just Christmas markets. But this is going to be part one, where I give you kind of my tips and advice and answer a few questions that I've had about markets. And then I'm going to do a part two next week once I've done a market and filmed at the market, where I'm gonna show everything. So this will be part one, and then next week you'll have part two where you can actually see it. But I thought I would answer all the questions in this one. So let's jump into it. So I have some of the questions on my phone. So one of the first questions is key things to bring with you to a market. So I'd say, first things first, it depends if you're taking your own table or not. Some markets, you'll need to take your own table. I have my own table, but quite a lot of the time they'll provide it. And you might also need a gazebo if you are outdoors. Those are two things that are going to depend very much on the market. I have a card reader. My first market, I kind of got one as a risk because I wasn't sure whether people pay mainly with cash or card. I would definitely recommend taking both, because I have so many people come up to me at markets and say like, do you take card? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, oh, no one else is taking card. So I would recommend getting a card reader. I use the Square card reader. It's called Square. And I will show you it actually. So I take this cash box with me to my markets, which I would always recommend taking a float as well. So as you can see, I've kind of got some money in here. I don't actually know why there's so much money in here. Should have probably cashed some of that in, but I keep my card reader in here, and then you can't see, but I've got lots of coins. Especially if you're selling things, if you're selling everything at like a tenner or a 20 quid, you probably won't need coins, but I sell things in between, so I need lots of coins, because quite often people will give me a £20 note for like a £16 candle. So definitely take some cash, go and get some cash out and some coins. And this is the card reader. So my card reader isn't one of the big fancy ones, but you do not need that. This works perfectly. So they can tap on there, or if their card doesn't work, then you insert it in here and you just use it. I can't show you because you're on the phone, but you just use it through your phone. So you can type in how much money they owe, and then it goes straight through for here. And it works great. Obviously, you're going to need your stock and drink, food. There's so many like little things that I take. Like for example, I have a chalkboard with all the prices and products on, so I always take extra chalk, and I always take like blue towel or tissue to be able to wipe it off if things go out of stock, or if I decide to reduce products. So depending on how you're displaying your prices, you might want something like that. I obviously have all my display stuff, so I use crates and shelves. So I had a shelf unit made for me last Christmas by a local woodwork guy. So I had all the shelves made specifically the right size for my candles. So I take that and some crates, and I had so I've got one of those white tablecloths. The bin people are too noisy. Hold on, they've gone now. So I have a white tablecloth that goes over the main part of the table, and then it pins under the legs. And then I have another, like, what would it be called? It's like a banner, I guess. And it goes in the middle of the table. It goes like out and down. And then it's got all the branding on the front. If I can find a picture, I don't know if I've taken one recently, but if I can, I'll insert it here. So yeah, but at Christmas I have a lot more like decorational stuff out. I tend to put like pine cones and fairy lights and little Christmas trees, and just make it look festive. Whereas obviously the rest of the year I don't do that. So next question. So with knowing how much stock to bring, if you haven't been to that market before, you could always message them and ask how the footfall is, or reach out to people that have been to that market before. But what I tend to do is, because I know how much money I make at the markets, I know how much stock to take. So for my Christmas markets, I tend to take usually around 2 grand's worth of stock. For markets for the rest of the year, I'll tend to take about 1,000. I won't actually take like £1,000 at markets that are not Christmas markets, but that's how much stock I like to take, just so the table looks nicely stocked even towards the end. But at the Christmas markets, I usually don't come home with much stock at all. And if you're doing a 2-day market weekend, so Saturday and Sunday, make sure you withhold some of the stock for the Sunday, because you could well sell out on the Saturday. Sorry, my eye is really itchy. Yeah, so you could sell out on the Saturday and then you won't have any stock for the Sunday, which happened to me for my first ever market, and I was up all night making candles for the next day. So definitely keep some stock back. You're going to have to judge it by the area, and if you haven't done markets before, I would just take £1,000 worth of stock for your first market, just so you know, and then you can kind of judge it from there how it goes. Some markets are really, really bad, and some markets are just crazy. So I only do the crazy ones now because I've learnt which ones, but you will just have to take a guess at your first market. So I would recommend, for interacting with customers, I always find the people that sat on the stalls and are sat down in a chair, like behind their stuff, and you can't see them, nobody buys anything, nobody wants to talk to you, you're not looking approachable, but you also don't want to be too like hi, like come and look at my stuff. You don't want to be like that either. So what I tend to do is kind of, I stand there and I just smile and I just say like, what's my line? I always say like, hi, feel free to come and have a sniff of anything, take the lids off, look at anything, pick anything up, and let me know if you have any questions. So I normally just say that, and then I step back, or I talk to Josh, or I pick up my phone, or I take the kind of pressure off of them, because sometimes if you're watching them, imagine how you would feel if you went up to a stall and someone's like watching you the whole time. You feel pressured, and you feel pressured to buy something. Quite often if you do that, they'll just go like thank you, and they'll walk on. So but you'll get to learn like who's going to buy from you and who's not. I can normally tell. We always have a bit of a joke, because I can tell whether someone's going to buy from me before they even get to the stall, based on just how they're looking on their way over, if they're smiling, or it becomes obvious, and it becomes something you'll learn. So just be friendly, and then if they pick something up, what I sometimes do is make a bit of a conversation. So I'll say like, oh, what kind of scents are you normally into? Like, or, oh, if you like that one, try this. Like, oh, are you looking for yourself, or are you buying Christmas gifts, or are you buying for someone else? Are you looking for something in particular? Are you treating yourself? Do you love a candle? Like, oh, are you a candle hoarder? Sometimes I'll have a bit of a joke and I'll say like, oh, do you actually burn your candles, or do you just keep them on the shelves? So I just try and be a bit friendly, and I just try and have conversation without it being like me trying to sell them a product. And then what I always find quite good is I always have on my chalkboard, like if you spend this amount, you can choose a free candle. So I think last year I did, if they spend 60 quid, they could choose a free candle. There won't be the boxed ones this year, but they can choose a free normal sized candle. And that always works really well for upping their spend. So if somebody's there and they've spent 50 quid, I can say, well, if you spend another £16, because the cheapest candle they can buy is £16, it gets you over the £60, and then you can choose another one for free. So that word free, they just love it. They love it. So I would recommend having some sort of reason for them to spend more money. Even if it's like gift wrap maybe or something, I don't have the time to do it because I've usually got a queue at the stall, so I have to be as quick as possible with bagging up the orders. So bags, I would take some paper bags, or depending how heavy your stock is, find some bags that work for you, because that is a big thing. So you can say like, oh, would you like a bag? Sometimes they'll have like tote bags or stuff with them, but you can say, would you like a bag? And then you can kind of bag up their order as they're choosing it and pricing it on your phone as they're doing that. I would also recommend, if you can get someone to go with you to a market, it's hugely beneficial to have somebody there to bounce off of, and especially if you get really busy. Sometimes I'll be interacting while Josh is bagging up the orders, sometimes, to be honest, he has to start serving other customers, and then he's just waiting for the card reader from me. So if someone can come with you, I would take someone with you, and it also takes that pressure off of the customer if you're interacting with just talking about something. And I always use, like, if it's like down to the last few candles of something, I always say to them like, oh, like if you want that one, that's nearly sold out already today, that's the last one, or something. Like, I won't say it's the last one if it's not the last one, but I'll always put a little bit of pressure on if they're interested and they're like kind of umming and ahhing. I'll say, and it's also cheaper here than buying online, because I usually do the candles £1 cheaper at markets. So that also gets them, because sometimes they'll say like, oh, I might have a look online, and I'm like, okay, it will be more money online. Sounds a bit threatening. So I would say have fun. Christmas markets are amazing. They're great. I love them. It's my favourite time of the year. Everybody's festive. There's usually Christmas music on, food. Everybody's so generous. Like, all the stalls are all so nice to each other. It's just a great time of year, a great thing to do. You'll love it. Be confident. Just have fun. It's such a lovely experience, and just, yeah, it's so nice to see people like react to your products in person, like, and love your stuff. Like, it's just, you'll come away feeling like so loved and so great about yourself. At least I do. So yeah, good luck to anyone who's got their first Christmas markets. I will do the video next Wednesday. I'm going to film like the setup and bit about my stall, and kind of like as much as I can film on the day, and then I'll tell you like how much we took, how much we sold and stuff like that. So that's this Sunday, but I'll be posting that next Wednesday. And yeah, I'll catch you on Sunday with the weekly vlog. Thanks for watching. Oh, and if you're one of these little people who's watching all my videos and not subscribing and liking, please could you subscribe, because it really helps. Thank you.